not getting hung up on, podcast itis or book
Yeah.
reading itis, where at some point, man, you just have to jump in the water and get her
You got to
done.
go do the damn thing.
Oh,
All right, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Shit You Don't Learn in College. I'm really excited today for my guest, Todd Lamb. Todd, welcome to the show.
hey, Xander, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate the
Absolutely, man.
invitation.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. So, you're the current standing CEO for Pure Life Organics, right? Tell me a bit about your company and what you guys do right now for anybody who doesn't know about you guys.
Yeah, so we are first and foremost, we're a health and wellness company. We focus on everything kind of internally to enhance and optimize people's health, as well as externally. So movement, motion, mobility, all those different kind of aspects that can assist people with really getting the most out of this kick at the cat, so to speak.
Yeah, I love it, man. So obviously you enjoy what you're doing, helping people be healthy. But let's take it back. How did you get to this point? Because I know, I think a lot of people would want to hear how you went from being a veteran and a police officer to actually becoming the CEO of a multi eight figure. Is it multi eight figure? You guys at nine figures yet? I don't know. You're always
It
growing
is.
every time I talk to you.
No, we haven't hit. That's a different nut to crack. I'll assure you. It's definitely in the goals, but we haven't cracked that one just yet. But
Yeah. So how'd you get to this point?
it is the wildest of wild stories, but it really stems, from a desire as a young man. That I just knew that I wanted to be in business. Even, as a kid, I was always like running around thinking, oh, I can invent this to do that, and as you start to evolve, you kind of look for those opportunities as fate would have it. You know, my life took a completely different track and into public service, and that was really as a result of becoming a father at a young age,
Yeah.
really feeling compelled to ensure that I had stability and security to support my daughter. So that led me down a track of public service, which I also loved. I was always uniquely drawn to military service, to community service through police department, that sort of thing. And so after college, I joined the military where I served. And once I got out of the military, I did a brief stint in commercial diving, but eventually got hired on a police department and ended up running tactical unit there for just about, I mean, all told, I was over 20 years public service, but retired from policing as a SWAT team leader. And
Quick question around that, because I think, and you
yeah,
and I have talked about this before, but as an entrepreneur now, my story being I was in the Air Force, I was in Air Force ROTC. I literally had my pilot slot, my plans to become a fighter pilot in the Air Force. I got a
yeah,
DUI, I got kicked out. You and I talk about this all the time.
yeah.
But for me, people always say like, "Oh, like aren't you so much happier? You have so much more freedom and control in your life now, and you've built this, this little mini empire, and you're growing it." I'm like, I do love my life, but there's a part of me that, kind of like you mentioned, always does miss having the opportunity to serve in the
Man,
military.
it
And
is it.
yeah,
It's just it really is just in some people's DNA to serve, whether it's your country and with that pride and belief in that ideal and what you believe your country stands for, or it's a community and the values that you share with that community with respect to law and order and justice, and serving that community in a way that allows those people to flourish in a very safe environment, and being that pillar and contributing to the betterment of that society within that framework. And some people are just deeply compelled, and I
yeah.
knew it. If I wasn't going to run business, which I knew nothing about at that age, I was going to serve publicly. And my first real love was the law, and I really wanted to become a lawyer, but it turns out I'm not the best student in the world. and so I didn't have the marks to get into law school, and so I just went to college instead of in general studies, and focused on law enforcement and criminology and that kind of stuff, and headed down that route.
Yeah, amazing, man. So, well, first of all, thank you for your service. Even
Appreciate
even
that.
if it was in Canada, not the United States, I will still say thank you.
Whoa, whoa. we share good history, pal.
We do share a good history. So you served for about 20 years, and then what happens? Why this transition? What happened?
So that was the thing, and I kind of blame one of our mutual friends, Craig Valentine, for this.
I feel like he's at the root of a lot of people's issues and
He's
transformations in entrepreneurship, isn't he?
Yeah, for all the good that he does, he's borderline evil, I suspect. Then if you kind of look at him, really kind of pushing you along to do these things. I stumbled across Craig. So, man, it's such a weird history. But when I was training for tactical and to get on the team, I hired a personal trainer who had worked with Craig, and I was having these discussions or telling this guy, hey, you should think about doing this in a way. And he's like, yeah, I heard about this guy, Craig Valentine. That led to, understanding this whole process, and the ability to sell things on the interweb, which I think I still had dial up back then, but,
Yeah.
he really was, a visionary in that respect. And so we started trying to do some of the things that he did, and doing that as a part-time gig, but starting to see, get a little bit of traction and starting to get around these guys, and always staying in observance of what they were doing. And
Yeah.
then trying my first kick at it as a part-time thing in 2007. I finally launched a program with a trainer around mixed martial arts. It did okay, but there were a lot of components, a lot of things that were not well understood. But I just continued to crack at it, and then as I started to progress through tactical and SWAT, and running that team, and the importance of fitness to people's health and success on the job, as it was related to their health, everything's continuously pointed back, and so. I really started to take some leaps and bounds in terms of investing in myself, going to these masterminds, and really that's where kind of everything broke wide open. And so around
You kind of
2014,
mentioned, it's about like putting yourself in that environment.
totally, totally, you can read and listen and do all the things like we're doing here, and really my hope would be people would come away from this discussion today and feel motivated and feel like, hey, I can do this, because honestly anybody can do it. But putting yourself in that environment, going out to when Xander says, hey, I'm running a mastermind, you need to get to that thing. That
Yeah.
is what cracked it wide open. When Craig's running his event, you need to get there. And I finally, and as a cop, and anybody who's on the job will tell you, you're not making bank. I didn't
Yeah.
have a ton of dough. I had to stretch myself, probably too much, too much so to get to these events. But I am telling you, like,
Well,
well,
it's funny you bring that
it
up
paid
because, like,
off.
I think every time I talk to a successful entrepreneur, part of their journey is I probably stretched myself too thin, or
Oh,
I probably went too far, or I probably spent too much, right? Like, I wouldn't do that again. Like, don't follow what I did, right?
yeah.
But
Oh
like,
no, I'm the guy that says follow what I did.
do it. Yeah, do it.
Oh man, because if you don't put your feet to the fire a little bit, and you're not
Yeah.
hungry, and you're not like, whoo, what did I do? And it wakes you up at night, then you probably haven't pushed yourself far enough.
Yeah.
But you need to be mindful of that pain. Now there's some guys that there are aspects of what I've done that I would say, yeah, don't do that, because it's a waste of time and money, like learning how to code websites and all that stuff that I spent time doing that I just wouldn't do back, today. And the world obviously has moved on from those kinds of things. But yeah, for taking a risk, growing up in a family that was very risk adverse, my parents were accountants, that grew up on a farm, that said, put your money away, don't, just enjoy your job, toe the line, get your pension, retire happy, but
Yeah.
I just wasn't that guy. I always felt like as I started to progress through my career, I felt like there was a lot more out there, that I could reach a lot more people. And I just, the same way I felt compelled to serve was the exact same, if not more so, was my desire to run business in an area that was contributing to people's health and well-being.
Yeah. So you now have this desire. You're getting around the right masterminds. You're getting around the right people. What happens next?
So 2014, I went to Vince Del Monte's mastermind, and I met my business partner, and we talked about who, and I say I met my business partner. I went there knowing nobody, but
Yeah.
I had a lunch with a guy, and he'd been kind of in the space, the more tactical minded. These fitness programs that had a bit of an undercurrent to people who'd been in a life of service and then had moved to sort of the health and mindset aspect of what the service could do and how to train your body as a result. And he's like, yeah, I've done something. We should talk. We ended up talking over a 6-month period, built this program, launched it, and then life started changing, and fast. Things don't happen overnight. I've been playing in the space for a long time.
Yeah.
But when we launched, it was one of the types of things that rarely happens, is when you get a hit out of the gate. When back then, with these digital muscle and fitness, weight loss type products, more of them fail than succeed. But this one happened to succeed. Things just went crazy. Like I was, suddenly, making a lot of money online that I'd never made, and it was getting exciting. And then my police department, who didn't care. And even to back that up, in order to run a business as a police officer, you need permission.
Yeah.
And so I had permission from the department to sell health and fitness programs and mixed martial arts programs online. Nobody cared because we weren't making any money. Well, then when we made money and people started to talk about it, and God knows how they even found out about how well it was doing. I guess it's just because word started to spread.
Yeah.
They told me to shut it down, and that's when I had to make a decision about who it was that I wanted to become, how many people I wanted to reach, and that was scary, man. Like I was making over 6 figures a year. I had a guaranteed pension that's probably worth a couple $1,000,000. $7,000-8,000 a month guaranteed on retirement, and I walked from it because I felt that I was capable of more, and decided to believe in my own ability to be successful. And so
And I think
I
that's
stepped
that's
away.
I think that's really big there, right? Like you bet on yourself, and a lot of people, hear about people stepping away from 6-figure jobs and things like that. Like, that's what I did, but you also walked away from the pension as well,
Yep.
right? So you walked away from a lot of money, and and I think that's something to be really conscious of. Like you chose purpose in the face of a lot of fear and a lot of like monetary like benefit. You basically said, no, I have to pursue this thing.
Yeah, it's golden handcuffs, right? And I was not unhappy in my job. I would catch bad guys all day long. It's fun, when
Well, it
people
was something that was very aligned with you as a person.
totally,
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, I felt compelled to do good in my community, and I like people who are wreaking havoc in a community. I like taking them off the street, and but I just, again, I felt compelled. And when it really boiled down to, it's time to make a decision, I had to ask myself, how far do I think I can reach with doing good? And law enforcement and serving the public is one component of service, but serving people who need to get healthy, who it's about their quality of life, and whose life, their lives otherwise are not enjoyable. To be able to transform those lives and then do it on an exponential level, it doesn't even come close. Like, policing's fun, but doesn't even come close to what we're doing now, for sure.
Oh, that's amazing, man. So you're forced into this situation of having to make a decision, and I take it you made the decision to pursue the route of entrepreneurship. So talk me through those initial few months of really getting going full time.
Yeah, it's funny because I lived such a life of structure where I knew what I was doing, I knew when my workouts were happening, to the day when I left. I woke up and I was clueless. I talked to my business partner or weekly meeting. I'm like, I literally don't know what to do every day. I mean, aside from kind of, doing, the bare minimum, I suppose, that we needed to do to facilitate the business, I really didn't understand business at that point. I didn't learn it in school. Nobody taught me about, this is how businesses run. This is the structure you need. These are the things. I did not. I talked to my account. I didn't know how to pay myself. I had no clue.
Yeah.
Zero.
It sounds like even the very basics of like I don't even know what to do first in my day. Like, what time should I be waking up at? Because these, if you think about it, these are things that are dictated for you since you're about whatever year old and you start going to school, right? Yeah. It's like waking up at a certain time is dictated for you. Like, you have to be up at 6:30 or 7 to make it to your, get dressed, have breakfast, and make it to class by 7:45 or whatever. I don't know. Totally. Right? It's been a while since I went to school, clearly. But you didn't even know what time to wake up, really, right?
Yeah. No, it was very unsettling from that perspective, kind of unnerving. Was I, what things did I need to do to foster this thing? What was it that I was trying to grow? Had I even really sat down and figured out those goals in terms of building a business, and then building myself in my role as a leader as we started to add people? What was the role of a CEO? What's the role of a COO? What are these various structures? How do I, do Q1, Q2, annual plan? All of these things. It's so easy when you're in a structured corporation or structure, but that's all done for you.
It's taken care of. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and you're just going through the motions. It feels good, you're showing up at your office and putting it in. But when you have to write the SOPs, when you have to develop the vision, when you have to implement the structures, it's very, very different. It's a significantly different world. And so, from that day, that conversation, it's been full on learning. And I go back to what we discussed earlier around mentorship, and I hired Craig before. I've gone to his events because I needed to learn structure on my own day-to-day things. And I am Craig is probably the only person I know who's more disciplined than I am when it comes to structure. But I didn't know how to focus my energy in terms of, developing those processes internally myself, right? Yeah. They'd always kind of been there, and I rise to that occasion. But when you don't understand it, or you are unaware, you kind of sink to the level of your last training. It's not. You're not.
I can't remember who said it. Your reality doesn't rise to your goals or your vision. It falls to the structure.
Totally. Yeah.
And so if you don't have that in place and you can't create it, you'll wonder why you're not getting to where you want. Like, you could have these big, crazy, audacious visions and goals, but if you don't have the structure and the environments and the processes to get you there, shit ain't going to work.
Yeah, so then once I kind of got myself squared away in terms of planning, then I hired a business mentor to teach me all the
Yeah.
things about business because, much like this podcast, the moniker of this podcast, I did not learn it in school and nobody was teaching me, and they don't teach you about money, and they don't teach you, there's probably a few business classes, but even guys who I've talked to who are MBAs or in school for or getting their MBAs, they don't do the stuff we do. They
I was
just
gonna
want,
say, like, I couldn't tell you how many people I've had with MBAs or like a Harvard business degree or marketing degree or something like that, then come through our
yeah,
program and be like, oh my God, why didn't they teach us this? Like,
yeah,
where was, like, you just taught me this in 2 weeks. I spent years learning none of this,
yeah,
right? It's pretty amazing.
totally. And it's things like leadership. It's things like communicating effectively with your team. It's things like managing or developing the processes, then managing the systems in behind
Yeah.
it. It's just there's a lot going on. And some people, I'm a slow learner. But once I get it, I get it, and that.
Yeah.
Some people are gifted in the way they can be taught, but theory and practical are very, very different animals. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's great, man. So you get this business up and running, you focus on the strategy or you focus on the systems to everything to really get you
Yeah.
guys rolling. Obviously, now you guys are doing very well. And I think rather than digging into a lot of the business stuff, because we do talk a lot about, business and strategy and everything on this podcast, I think one of the things that, and you and I connect on this a lot is what you do with your income that your business now brings in, which is you do a phenomenal job of giving back, not only in the business itself. I mean, you're
Yeah.
in a business of helping keep people healthy and live better lives, but then your income that the business brings in, you guys also do a great job of giving back to the world. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so our main focus, and that itself had an evolution, but our main focus is reforestation, and not just going out and finding companies to plant trees, but companies specifically who are using drones to speed that process up so that it
Yeah.
happens in our lifetime. And in fact, we just signed a deal with Flash Forest to pilot a project here on Vancouver Island where we purchased 100,000 seed pods to plant an entire forest here that we're going to be doing on
Wow.
April 20th, somewhere between April 20th and 28th, which is the Earth Week during that period. So it'll be really cool to see all the drones
That's
in
amazing.
these swarms that just come up, and they plant this whole field, and the germination rate of these pods is exceptionally high, and then the monitoring of the forest after the fact. So to peel it back to kind of the beginning, we didn't start that way in business. We didn't know for sure what it was that we wanted to do.
Yeah.
We knew that was an important component. First and foremost, we started to focus on creating healthy people. But as the business itself started to become healthy, that's when we started to see an opportunity like, hey, we can actually do a lot more than what we're doing. Yes, people are our focus, but then we transition to make that healthy people, a healthy planet.
Let's make sure that these people have a world to live in. How about that one?
Oh man, I'm not, you're not going to find me chained to a tree anywhere, because I realize people need things made of wood. But what
Yeah.
I do know is what is very typical of our race is that we always go a little bit too far
Yeah, we
with
do it a little bit
things.
over the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, with drones and drone reforestation, this is the first time that technology has really been on that side of the equation.
Yeah.
Technology's really been focused on rapid harvesting, all of these different ways to get wood to market faster. So now you can come in behind some of these, forest fires and
Yeah.
the significant logging practices, and come in and replant these things much quicker. And governments are in behind this kind of thing, and in some places more so because it just feels good. They aren't actually doing things, but certainly in North America, I know that there is a very significant effort towards reforestation because of the need for carbon neutralization.
And I think this is, there's kind of an important lesson here for a lot of people. Maybe you're listening in and you're thinking, oh, who are these entrepreneurs that make multi-millions of dollars? They stuff their pockets with green and, they line their garages with Lamborghinis and things like that. And the reality is like, these days, like a lot of entrepreneurs that make great money, we're conscious enough to be like, we're saying, hey, like, what are we going to do with this money? I don't need 5 cars. I need 1 car. Right. And the rest of this should be going to something that's going to provide good and freedom and everything for my kids and my kids' kids and the world at large. Right. Yeah. Money really is a tool for this.
So that, like I can't underscore it enough. And that, I'm not saying, don't create a legacy and don't look after your finances in a way that allows you to enjoy sort of the fruits of your labor. But man, if you're not out there transforming lives, and I don't care if it's giving socks to the homeless or if it's feeding families in impoverished nations, you should. It is your corporate responsibility to be doing something, because people are taxed extraordinarily. Middle income, lower income, those areas of the population seemingly continue to be separate. So however you want to give back, I believe that it's the responsibility of corporations to get out there and make these things happen in our lifetime and happen in a meaningful way. Not a way that just feels good so that you can talk about it, but something that is going to happen, for me at least within my lifetime, so that people can say, hey, like you actually did something here. And for me, it can't happen fast enough. There's a lot of hurdles that we need to jump over to get that pace rolling quicker. But, with these smart people who are running companies like Flash Forest, companies like Airseed Tech, companies like Drone Seed, Drone Seed's really prolific in California, by the way. They're out replanting.
We may need to talk about that, because we're planting trees over in Madagascar right now, but maybe we need.
Hey, yeah, us too. Maybe. Yeah, we have a project going there. But
awesome.
Drone Seed you can get to Drone Seed through a third party provider who's called Generation Now. Who, if you're contributing to them monetarily, they can direct those funds to Drone Seed, who's in California, doing a lot of planting there. So smart dudes, smart everybody. All of those teams are just like, yikes.
And like, one thing that I kind of love that you said, right, is like we gotta do something about this, and we got to do something about it faster, right? I think I can't remember who said this to me. But it really stuck. They basically said, clearly it didn't stuck enough for me to remember their face or their name, but it stuck enough. But they said, like, do you want to wake up? Do you want to wake up when you're a grandpa and your grandkids are going, wait, you knew about this and you didn't do anything? Like, what's wrong with you? Right? And I literally thought about that, and it made me cringe. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, if you have any capacity to help solve some of the world's bigger problems right now, whether you're a business owner or even, it doesn't matter, even if you're in a 9 to 5 and you've got some free time, or you're well off and you're saving some money, put some of that towards something else. Right? Because I'd never want to be that grandpa and my grandkid be like, Grandpa, like, you knew about this and didn't do anything? Like, what's wrong with you guys?
I know. So this is what I've come to understand now, though, around, as we developed our mission, healthy people, healthy planet. People, if they're unhealthy in their life, they have no ability to look beyond, really it's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If your internal needs are not met, if your health, your finances, all these things are not met, you have no ability to look beyond yourself.
further.
And that's why I say the onus is on corporations, because a lot of people don't. They're unhealthy. And so they're like, hey, am I even going to wake up tomorrow? And so that's where I said, if we can make people healthy and enjoy their life, that's when they can take it that next level, one beyond. And so not only do we have a compound effect on what we're doing, exponentially trying to speed up the process of reforestation, but we're also filtering out to all these people who may jump on a cause here and there, because now their life needs are met, at the very basic level. And so
that's so true though. Like we always tell people, like, your big goals don't matter if your health is not there. Like whatever your big vision is, if your health is not there, that becomes your big vision. Like everything else becomes secondary.
It really is. And I saw this all too often in policing. People would spend the 30 years on the job, to get the golden ticket on the way out with a pension. They'd be dead a year later. And that is common because they just haven't taken care of their health, and so it's one of those situations where I wish that I had a stronger voice, or I wish I could make people see that, the path you're on is a path to certain death at a young age, and all that time that you spent giving to others, are unable to enjoy yourself because, you just don't take care of that very, very basic needs. So we're focused on that internally as our internal mission, to create healthy people, but then, leverage the success there and take that out to the planet. I'd love to have like 50 of these companies. I'd love people, there's Dendra AI, and in fact, Chamath Palihapitiya is a big investor in Drone Seed. It's in one of his investment portfolios. So it's guys like that who are monsters, in my opinion, around tackling climate change that can really make an impact. I'd like to see a bunch more like him, and there are people doing it quietly, but man, we should be out banging the drum. And I fly helicopters, as you know, and I fly over just Vancouver Island, which is a very big logging community in Canada, even, the amount of wood that we produce. And there's a lot of acreage here that needs planting. And you think about the impact that could have on the planet, it's pretty significant. So.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. So, obviously there's a lot of people listening to this and they're thinking, all right, I gotta get my health in order first. So for them, everybody go to purelifeorganics.com and make sure you get your health in order. And then after that, they're thinking, okay, I got to get my finances in order so I can start to do some of these things. But along the path of becoming successful, we all kind of have to overcome what we have to overcome, period. Right. So my next question for you, Todd, is what's maybe the biggest thing that you've had to overcome to get to where you are now?
Oh boy. There's just been no shortage of it, to be honest. Fear was a big one for me. Right. And, when we talk at a very fundamental level, despite being able to teach people to go through a door, with knowing there's an armed suspect on the other side and being able to push through that door, no problem. When it came to really believing in my own ability to learn something and then take what I've learned and apply it in a way that actually grows and becomes successful and allows me to feed my family, that created a lot of fear in me. And so I had to really do some reflection, and that takes me back to being disciplined and focused and reading and learning and but not getting hung up on podcast-itis or book reading-itis, where at some point, man, you just have to jump in the water and get
you got to go do the damn thing.
Too many people are like, I'd rather you should listen to this. I don't have time to listen to it, if I do, it'll be on 1.5 speed because
for everybody listening, Todd is not telling you to stop listening to the Shit You Don't Learn in College podcast. He's telling you to listen, then go take action and maybe put us on 1.5x.
Look, but the reality is, like I still listen to leaders and people who are
Yeah.
providing guidance. But there are people who just get hung up in that loop.
It becomes an
And
addiction. It's like an addiction of
yes,
education rather than an addiction of wisdom. Like wisdom can only be accomplished through action and like
ah,
getting like you could read a book. You could read a book on how to become the best swimmer in the world by Michael
yeah,
Phelps.
yeah.
But until you jump in the pool and start swimming, you're probably not going to be that good.
It's 100%. And so, fear of belief in myself was a big one. And then
Can
they're
I
all,
ask you something about that real quickly?
yeah,
Because
sure.
obviously military trained SWAT, like you mentioned, like you could put yourself in physical harm's danger, like in the way of being shot, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, Yet quitting your job and going after this thing as an entrepreneur is terrifying to you. We had a client, Josiah, who's a Navy SEAL, and he said the same thing. He's like, I could go on the craziest missions, and
yeah,
like like knowing that I'm gonna have bullets whizzing by my ears, like 6 inches from my ears, and
yeah,
I'm calm as a cucumber. And as soon as I got to the point where like I had to quit my job and it put my family, my kids, and like their livelihood, like he's like, I froze. He's like, I
yeah.
couldn't figure it out. I froze. Right? Like, can you describe that to me a bit? Like, did you feel that same thing?
Yeah, there's certain aspects to entrepreneurship that don't exist inside of public service, and that is really, being reliant on your own abilities. And
Yeah.
so, there's a framework and a structure for going through a door and teaching people to shoot properly, and the mechanics of the business of being involved in high risk operations. But when you are involved in or starting to learn something completely new, a new language, you have to become fluent in the language. It's very, very daunting and difficult. And then having to almost speed up that process to a point at which you, in one area of your life, you've mastered a craft, and now this other area you have absolutely no real understanding of what the mechanics are that are gonna, what the system is that's going to take you to that level to allow you to be able to feed your family and be successful. And so you are completely putting yourself inside of a framework that requires new skills to learn. And you have to ask yourself the same way you did the day you went out to try out for SWAT. Do you have what it takes? And some people get tired of wanting to answer that question, but I always want to be able to answer that question. And that's the difference. When that question's posed, do I have what it takes? I always want to be able to get up and be able to
Answer with
go after it.
an
Answer
audacious
the bell,
yes.
man.
Yeah.
Answer the bell. Yeah, for
I,
sure.
I love that, man. So one last quick one for you, and maybe a couple speed round questions actually.
Okay.
Number one, how would you define success in your life?
Whew. Uh, there's a number of different ways. For me, internally, being just satisfied with the my contribution to the planet. Being, I came into home plate sliding. You know what I mean? Like I gave her all I had, and I will never. Success for me is going to be going into my pine box with zero regrets. And if I got knocked off today, I'd be totally fine with it. I
Yeah.
really would. Is there a lot more to do? Absolutely. But there is not an itch in my life that I haven't scratched. And I've felt that level of contentment for many, many years now. And so I feel exceptionally grateful for that. And then, the other way I would define it is being able to duplicate that in others. So having that sense of contentment myself, and can I do what I did for myself for others? And that's
Yeah.
on me as a leader to be able to create that and give people the direction and the vision to set them on a path. And that's what I'm working on right now.
Oh, I love that, man. That's great. So last couple of questions for you. Number one, is there a book that you've been recommending to people recently? I know we just talked about don't just go spend time reading the books and listening to the podcast, but is there something that you think if people were to go get that book and implement that book would be a great one for people?
Yeah, I think it's the classic Think and Grow Rich. It's the one that I go back to most often. There have been so many transformative books in my life, but that one has just very good fundamentals. And so I would suggest that. But you'll find yourself at different phases through your business journey, through your personal journey and relationships that certain books will speak to you. So, I would suggest that, you kind of, when you're looking for that direction, say on mental focus or fiscal responsibility or, business structure, rocket fuel for me was a huge one around
Nice, that's a good one.
developing business. So some of those that have those very good fundamentals and allow you to establish a framework to grow within, those are some good ones.
Beautiful. Thank you, man. That being said, is there anywhere that we can send people to learn more about Todd and Pure Life Organics and what's coming their direction?
Yeah, so I'd come see us at purelifeorganics.com, but the majority of our content, let's say, like if you're doing what I'm doing and sitting all day long, come see us at on Instagram it's at purelife.organics. Somebody was kind enough to steal the main one and rip off some of our content like so many people do. But at purelife.organics, we have breathing classes, mobility classes, all kinds of things happening on that channel frequently to just have people, get through life a little easier. So those are the two places.
Beautiful, man. I'll make sure to check it out myself. And for everybody else out there, make sure to go to Instagram and at purelife.organics. Check it out on purelifeorganics.com to check out more about how Todd and his team are helping make you healthier. Todd, thanks again for being on the show, man. This has been a blast.
Xander, always. Sorry I'll miss you in Miami, my friend, but I look forward to connecting later in the year.
Absolutely. Next time, man. Next time.
Okay, pal.